You're listening to the Classic Gamers Guild podcast.
This makes my nipples hard.
Hi there.
Lunchbox, please.
That timing was beautiful, though.
This was 42 minutes in the making. I can't believe it.
Hi there, classic gaming friends. Welcome to the show. In today's episode, Paul and I and his cat Lunchbox are chatting about...
Do the
Paul?
thing. Did that pass his Lunchbox? Okay.
That was good enough for me.
He's just, there he goes. Yes, he's just looking me dead in the eyes right now like, fuck you.
Yeah. So the three of us are hosting the payment. Two of us care about you. One of us is indifferent. You'll find out by the end of the episode which one it is. Paul, what are we talking about today?
Unclear. I don't know. I've known all day until right now that the cat will not stop. He won't even blink. I think this is a... So we're talking about environments. You saw it from the thumbnail, you guys. Don't come at me all like, well, please tell me. You read it. Okay, this episode clearly says something vaguely environments. Or maybe I went with more like environmental or something fun. And so that's what we're talking about. It's going to be great. Do you guys read the episode description? Do you read the show notes? I spend a while on those. You should read those.
Mm-hmm. They're funny.
Oh. We were sitting here. You got your favorite chips in your pocket. I got my cat. I got this Pringles can in case we need to go 1920s on anybody. We were just good to go. We're talking about environment, see? Welcome to the Classic Gamers podcast. Man, it works so good. It's ridiculous.
It's beautiful. It's really, you should be doing like voice acting for other games doing that.
Actually, the first topic is historical inspiration. Join us tonight with Gabriel Knight, Laura Bow. What do they have to say about it? See? Find out. Okay, I'll take a break on that. It might be peaking the microphone. But look, we're talking about environments. It's going to be just a free flow conversation because. And
that's true.
I'm excited about it. Okay, let's get them all started. Let me actually tell my son to stop jumping up and down. Stop it! Jumping up and down. So this whole thing was, we were excited to talk about the aesthetics of an environment. So we're going to cover like a wide range of things, everything from interactivity to atmosphere to the graphic influence, like graphic quality. And it's weird to say graphic quality was pixel art, but we're going to look at how AGI graphics might have varied from something like, the VGA era. And I don't know, the storytelling, but look, I'm reading things off a list here. But my point is we're more prepared than it sounds like. But I want to start us off with basically was what kind of inspired this, which Anne and I were both excited to talk about Leisure Suit Larry 5 and Larabout 2. That was weird. I said Larry, but it's cool. And and just a few that really stand out that hopefully we'll get to more like organically. But just for a jumping off point, Anna, what is it about Leisure Suit Larry 5 that is grabbing our attention for the environment?
Like, it's this super 90s kind of a style, and I'm just trying to sort of place what I could possibly call it, because it's really distinct, isn't it, with all of its kind of points and the way everything's shaped, right? What do you think it is?
I don't know. You know who it reminds me of? It reminds me of Bob Dylan.
Does it now?
Yeah, when I see wacky 90s Saved by the Bell, squiggly lines and shapes, I think Bob Dylan. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I get it. Because he did that song, Stuck Inside of Mobile with the Memphis Blues Again. And that kind of I think started up the whole idea of Memphis design. Guys, Google it. Tell me it doesn't look like that, right?
Yeah, they should call it Memphis design. Because
right?
it just, when you look at it, you're like, it's probably called something oddly country western. I don't know why.
Right.
All these neon colors. And yeah, it just fits. I picture gritty blues folk musician Bob Dylan wearing a neon windbreaker. That's
and then that's what you see when you open your locker, and it's kind of like it's there hanging up next to your baby soothers and your your
styrofoam cup from the mall with like a turquoise, paint thing scrubbed across it or whatever.
Yeah, the thing. The
Yes,
very, very,
it
yeah,
looks how
90s
that
kind of,
sounded. Yeah.
yeah,
That's it.
80s.
You just made the sound of an old arcade rug. That's a roller rink.
I was
Yeah.
running my fingers across the up and down of the swishy swirl. Yes. But yeah, it's a very distinctive design. I wasn't a fan of number 5. I've said it before. It's fine. It's grown on me. I wasn't sure on the direction that it was going, but the art and the aesthetic, if this is what you're looking for, it is very it. that whole, it's the epitome of the 90s. It's Bob Dylan personified game.
Right, you're right. It's so weird that that's true because it's just like, man, yeah. I'm struggling so hard to associate Bob Dylan with this still, but yeah, okay. So and if so just for a quick little director's note here, this is number 13 on that list that we have. But the art influence, we wrote down games with a strong commitment to one particular style or vibe. And here I've got our examples would be like Leisure Suit Larry 5, right? Because as Anna just said, it's so much more needs to be said about it. It's just the most overtly 90s, like TGI. Wait, what was that called?
Yeah, TGI Fridays.
Yeah, was it just TGIF? I guess where it had like Susan Sarandon or some Summers.
TGIF. We'll see.
Step by Step is what I was trying to say there.
Family Matters and
yeah, exactly.
Step by
Leisure
step,
Suit Larry looks
day
like
by
that.
day.
That whole
Yeah.
thing, that song,
That whole
all of
era.
this. Yeah.
Moesha. Let's go.
It feels so good just to say that at them, doesn't it? Just so glad you guys heard that.
It's
Okay.
all in there.
So what else do we have? I don't know. Just kind of tag your it. What's another game that's just like the art style is just very, very strong. Like they committed hard to one art style.
Right. I mean, you could say the same thing about Dagger, really, because the whole thing is very much a period piece.
Right. Good call. The whole thing's Art Deco. Got like just the flat. What is it? Flapper, I think. Right. Like flapper gown for the Lars blue dress anyway, and just like Lion Decker, who's was an actual person with actual art. That was of the Deco variety.
What, no song reference for that?
Oh, actually, and they've got the noir font. Ah, see, noir font. Okay, I'll put the previous game down.
No, that was good. That was better than a song title. I'll take it.
Okay, yeah. So Leisure Suit Larry 5, Raw. What's another like I had put in the notes Day of the Tentacle because that's like
The Heart of China and The Rise of the Dragon, both very, very, very solidly in their time period as a very specific art style, very straight up.
Right. Yeah, I could get behind that.
Yeah, I would say. What else art style wise? I mean, in the Quest for Glory 5, it picked an art style and it stuck with it solidly all the way through. And yeah, that might be 3D pixelated.
It was
kind
called
of
terrible.
But Alone in the Dark did the same thing, right? Here it is. This is what I am. Accept me, and I'm going to move forward as such.
Right. Yeah, it did. It completely owns it. Yeah, I'm kind of struggling because like Day of the Tentacle and Sam & Max are like, well, Sam & Max is like a comic book style, I guess you could say, right? I mean, Sam & Max was a comic book before a game, just to get my nerd credentials at the door here, where it's like, hey, as a co-host of a podcast about this, I know some things, man, and one of them is that. And that's all I got, and we have so much more we could talk about. So, do you have anything else, or should we just move on to another number?
Yeah, I'll move on to another number other than Larry's Casino. I mean, it sticks with the style and it knows where it is. It's at a casino and your boss isn't supposed to look at it.
Right. Yes. Nice.
Only because I am looking at the box and it's a very pretty but very big ass box.
That's like, I don't have that one. That's like very Leisure Suit Larry 7, right? The vibe, like the art, like, okay.
Yeah, it's around in that time period.
Okay, well, we could do a oddly smooth transition. Well, no, it's not going to be, but I'm going to try and transition something. Okay, I put in here that there's like, come on, Corman, keep it moving. What is it? It was like, oh yeah. So, like, Leisure Suit Larry 7, and just like a certain games that are like, I don't know, they're real world kind of based, but I'm mixing up two different things at once. Okay, well there goes the transition. That's fine.
But wait, there's more. Oh, wait, I'm just reading this off of the back of the. I'm looking at the Leisure Suit Larry's greatest hits and misses compilation. And it's kind of got the mix of all of them so that I can get Leisure Suit Larry in mind. But this is good because this is my favorite thing, off topic, but get 6 Leisure Suit Larry games for only one, all inside this one box. And then the asterisk says, plus any additional retail marketed on the front, back, side panel, edge panel, shrimp wrap, tag sign, floating balloon, or life-size alone semi-nude photo of Allo with marketing thought would be a good idea, but which is probably long gone, vandalized by politically correct. I won't go on. It gets terrible after this point.
Wow, just significantly more then for you to be saying that.
It just keeps going and going and going, and it gets worse and worse all the way down. But
that was back when, for better or worse, you could say what you were thinking.
on the back
You
of the
make
box.
the joke, yeah.
But think about the value. These sold for $360 in stores. And, I bring up Leisure Suit Larry because it is a great example of the progression of the art. That's all in the progression of the environment. Okay, and I'm going to take what you're saying in the direction of, not real places yet, but more like how it makes me feel, which is something I brought up when I was talking to James a little bit earlier, when he's like, oh man, when I play some games, I can feel like a game like Elder Scrolls Arena. He's like, I can feel the walls and how damp they are and how cold they are. And I can, when the rain comes down, I can smell it because I feel like I'm there. And what I was trying to saw out, and what I'm curious about, is if an improvement on graphical style changes how much you're immersed in the environment. Okay, like say you're standing outside a house on the hill, and then you're in a very simplistic King's Quest game and you're standing by the water and maybe you want to go swimming and you can feel the grass. And then you're in like King's Quest 6 and it's kind of hand painted and the grass is even greener and it looks even prettier, but maybe there's less description about what the grass looks like. And it's like, do you feel where you are more or less depending on the graphic style? Does it make a difference to you?
That's such a good question. I guess like for the sake of a thought experiment, I'm thinking of like the LucasArts remakes, remasters, where with Monkey Island, Day of the Tentacle, Full Throttle, Full Throttle, that you could just press the button, or maybe it was in the menu in some cases, and switch it back and forth from pixelated to remastered. And I almost don't know if I can really truthfully answer because of nostalgia. Like I don't know. I don't know to what degree that all is. I really, really, really like pixel art to the point where I decided to have to do it most days.
That's a lot.
Right? I might have oversteered, but regardless, I stand by it. So it's like I think that gives it credit. I think that's got to be maybe more than just nostalgia, because I don't like how vaporous are the fumes of nostalgia, right? I feel like that car would be running on empty by now after 3 years. It's like I still must appreciate pixel art in a different sort of way. So yeah, okay. Let's try maybe just a different example then. Right? What about Space Quest 1 and Quest for Glory SCI? Well, no, Quest for Glory was always SCI, right? That's like, yeah.
Well, they did a VGA remake, and that's the
Right.
consideration. Okay, take a Space Quest game, take a Police Quest 1 game. Maybe that's a bad example because
Well, these
of the
remakes
remake,
are good though, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
They're both
but the
pixel
remakes were good. Yeah, they're
helping me.
well.
Sorry.
Some of them are. That's
Yeah.
okay. I was saying, well, like with Quest for Glory, they totally made the game in VGA point and click. So you've got 2 versions of the exact same game, one in your EGA, whatever, and then the other one in your VGA with an entirely different like layout as to how you click on things, but all the locations are the same. So like that's sort of a comparison idea. Or like King's Quest, the original one, or King's Quest, the later one that was put out as a fan game, point and click. And
This is good. Okay. So to answer your question, I'm going to use Space Quest. But just going on, that era of SCI remakes or VGA remakes, to be just very pedantic around Quest for Glory, because the first was SCI 0.AGI. But with Space Quest, it's like the art between the AGI one and the remake, which I love both. I'll just say that right away, because the VGA Space Quest gets a lot of hate, and I mean, the two guys themselves don't like it, so there's that. But I love it for two reasons. One, I love the Space Quest series so much that when I recently played them all in a row through, not like in a day or whatever, but like, played them all one at a time in order, like for like 2 months, like really focused on it. When I was done playing them all, I was sad it was over. And I was like, I want more Space Quest. And then that's when I remembered the remake that I literally had almost forgotten, just because it's like, it's like almost felt like I should be writing it off. Like, well, nobody likes that kind of vibe. And so I played it, and it was awesome. Now, granted, like I was a long way away from 1. I just played 1 through 6 and just finished 6 when I started it. But I was just like, man, this is like, it's like a fresh take on 1, and it's got this kind of Space Quest 4 aesthetics to it. And it's got that, what do you call that? Like the how the 50s thought the future would look like atomic art.
The atomic, essentially, future world kind of stuff.
Right, exactly. So yeah, Tomorrowland vibes, and it's just, I love that art style. So it had all that going for it, and because it's such a great art style for Space Quest, because it's like you get the whole, like, the way the 50s thought of the future. There was so much rocket ships, outer space kind of Sputnik, sort of stuff was going on at the time. Like, think Iron Giant, right? So to put Roger in like this blue jumpsuit with like the fishbowl astronaut helmet, like, it was just so cool. It was like so perfect for the vibe and for everything. So anyway, that game has a completely different feel than Space Quest EGA, which or AGI or whatever, in the sense that like Mark Crow just did like his thing, like using like white, black, purple, and blue or cayenne and magenta to make, like, to create a whole mood. And like Space Quest AGI has like, it has a darker vibe to it, like, because they didn't know exactly who they were yet as, like, as a franchise, like, you know what I mean. The first, I think, 2, you're not Roger, you enter in your own name, and those first 2 are like, they're a little darker, like they're not always funny or overtly going for the joke. Like, there are some like desolate themes to them, and just like some moments of just like a little bit of creepiness even, and things like that. So I get a tremendously different feel from those 2 games. So yeah, I would say, yeah, it's kind of everything. It's just not a bad or good in either direction. I'm sorry, I'll end this with some sort of coherent note, which is, even in AGI, the AGI version of Space Quest offers perhaps more atmosphere and mood than the remake does, with far less colors and far less pixels. Yeah.
I like that. I feel that. I feel everything you just said, because every time, okay, I'm going to go to Quest for Glory, but the same for Space Quest. I felt the same way, but I love this game. I've played it through so many times, 10 different ways from Sunday. It's atmospheric. It can scare me. It can make me feel all the feels. When I found out Sierra was making a new one in VGA, it's just like, awesome. More game that I love. And now I can see what all the things I didn't think to ask. Because in the typing game, you can't, like, you don't know everything you need to ask every single person. So there's lots of stuff that's kind of hidden. So with that, I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to click on everybody and see everything. And all the things I couldn't. But to me, there was like a sense of safety in the remakes, in the atmosphere, because
You're right.
it was usually like point and click. It wasn't text. Things didn't keep moving. They were going to take care of you a little bit better. Like, so in like, to me, it's not that it was more or less atmospheric. I didn't feel like I was as important within the environment with the simpler graphics with the original game. Like, I felt like I was right there, like things were going to happen. It was kind of scary. Anything could happen. And then with the remake, I was just like, oh, this is beautiful. I can see everything. It's easier. By then I knew how to play the game. Like, it was never my first, whatever the remake was. Like, some people would encounter it differently if it was their first. But anyways, so I'm seeing all the dialogue trees. I'm seeing what everything could potentially look like within the artist's rendering. And I was always just so happy to have more of the game. But when I go back and I replay it, I go back to the original 90% of the time. The excitement for me for the remake was a novelty. And the excitement for me for the real game sticks with me, and I will keep playing it because I love it.
Well, you hit the nail on the head, especially you open that with, like, I think you said safer, and they feel safer. It's almost more predictable, or you have more leeway, or more, the game has more patience with you. you feel safe
Mhm.
to wait around. Like in an AGI game, like you
Mhm.
could feel really nervous just standing somewhere.
Yes, the pressure and time is ticking. Even Gold Rush, right? Like speaking of frickin' atmosphere and not a huge amount of pixels, like the settings that this game created and the feeling of time rushing, and it makes it happen. Because you know what? Fine, sit on your laurels, and then what are you going to do? Which path are you going to take? Well, the game's not going to let you take any path you want now. You took
You
too
missed the
freaking
boat, buddy.
long,
Yeah,
right?
that's
You
right.
missed the boat. You're out of luck. It's like, oh my God, now I got to pay for that. And same in the timer in Quest for Glory. It's like, oh man, what? I'm sorry, you can't climb the wall and you didn't make it back home again and the stable is closed. Just go to Arena's Peace. There's enemies, you poor thing. I hope you have healing potions. It's like, but like in the VGA remake, it's just like everything was easier. The fighting was easier. The health went up a little bit more whenever you took a potion. It felt like it was all like so much easier, which was fun. That was fine, right?
Right. Well, you had also said you hit the nail on the head again with the novelty factor, and it's funny
Mm-hmm.
that jumping back to the Space Quest example, that art,
Mm-hmm.
that atomic art, let's say, has a tremendous novelty quality to it,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like
Mm-hmm. It does.
you want like a large dose
Mm-hmm.
of it, like very just quickly at once, and then you'd be good for a while. Like it's there's
Mm-hmm.
just yeah, there's and so yeah, Space Quest One the remake just felt novelty, it looked novelty, and not in a bad way. Yeah, it was
Mm-mm.
really just if you really love Space Quest, you just want more of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like you know.
Yeah. Do you like the movie? Buy the book. Like,
Right,
there's more
exactly.
of this lore in this world you might want to experience. And hey, if you like this, maybe you like another book that this same author wrote. I mean, you can keep going down that trail as far as you want.
Yeah, exactly. In our case, just read the manual. It's probably shockingly large, especially in the case of Gold Rush. That's going to get you through
Yeah.
a cold
Oh
night.
my God.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I'm just today I was explaining to my son Jacob about time and care in preservation and historical accuracy within classic games. And as an example, he loves it when I do this. I'm like, come over here to the game shelf, son. And I open up the Gold Rush box. I'm like, they just don't pack them like they used
Back
to.
in my
And I was
day.
like, and I pull out the map and he's trying to like criticize the accuracy. I'm like, it's a computer game. Okay. Anyways, doesn't matter. I show him the map. I show him the book. I show him the instruction booklet. And actually that's what it was. He was having an argument with me. I'm like, my computer has a disk drive, but I can only use CDs in it. And he's like, you can put a disk in it. It has a disk drive. So I needed to open up the box and show him floppy disk, in my opinion, blue disk, because blue disks are not floppy disks, if you ask me. And then, CD-ROMs, the differences between all three of them. And then I had to show him how they worked for copyright, the little tab flicking. And I was imagining he was super fascinated by this information, but no.
I love it right away. He's like going attacking the accuracy. It's like these maps were made before airplanes, half of them. Okay, like, you have no idea what it took to
He's just like, I don't know if I can trust this map. It doesn't have whatever country it was. I'm like, dude, that's because, well, this kid, he knows places all around the world. I don't. I'm just like, it's a map. It's from a game. Come on, isn't this cool? But it's fine. Kids are good like that. But yeah, anyways, my whole point to this is think about the environment in one game. What has it done to immerse you in the Gold Rush era? You've got your beautiful graphics, you've got your timelines, you've got your book. It's a part of it. You've got your map. It's a part of it. Even the manual with your textured front. This game is doing everything it can to put you right into the Gold Rush. And it has to, because it's a little bit educational. So it's going to put in that extra couple of cents to get people intrigued. And it worked, right? Look at the cover. We talked on one of our previous episodes. How cool is the cover of this box, right?
It's maybe the greatest box of all time. Yeah,
It's true. It's true.
The McNeil brothers slept in a bloody van in the parking lot
Mm-hmm.
of Sierra to make this game for us people. I mean, just what else do we have to
Mm-hmm.
say? I mean, Brian played it. We got, if nothing else, to be honest, we got one person to play it. That's kind of huge. So I think we should probably cash in on that. But this actually ties in really nicely to our historical inspiration note, which is like, it's just a convoluted way of me trying to reword realistic world or real world, because I mean that in another way that we'll get to later. So, but I mean historical in like our world, this
It's a place
historically speaking, like the things that happened in our history are canon in the game. So that
Mhm.
would be Gold Rush, right? Like the Sutter's camp
Mhm.
is the same Sutter, and it's the exact matching history. Boy, this is so
Mhm.
difficult. But anyway, I wanted to touch on some games like that because since we're on Gold Rush, and I'll lead us into from there is Gabriel Knight. I guess both of them really, because well, definitely the first and second, because you've got why can't I think of the name, Louisiana, right? and
Mhm.
and then you've got Germany. So it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, it's just a really, you were asking, I guess the main theme of this would be like, how does the environment like make you feel? And Gabriel Knight, or when it takes place somewhere historical, that translates to me as it makes me want to go there. It makes me want to
Mhm.
affect my actual life and like change the course of it by literally like at some point like traveling to a location I never would have gone to if not for a video game.
Mhm.
And I've like
Yeah.
some of our friends on Classic Gamers Guild Facebook page just all met up. I think was Jackie a part of that? Who we just had on the
Yeah.
show recently? Just all met up in
Jackie's done it,
Louisville,
and
and
Roberta and Nalani, and I
Roberta
think
was there, right?
Hope, who does the intro to our show. Yes, it sounds like me. It is
Exactly,
not me. It's in the credits. That's why we're just all twins, because we love
right.
adventure games.
But yeah, they all met up together. Roberta got a really cool photo of like the red recreation shot, the red photograph from or screenshot from Gabriel Knight under the lamplight. That's so cool.
Mhm.
But the point is like I really want to take my son to Europe soon, and I'm going to go to the places in Gabriel Knight too. Like I already know that it is written.
Mhm.
Bear witness. So it's to say that what do the environments do for these games? Well, if they're done, as well as Gabriel Knight 2 was in my example, or Gabriel Knight 1 in our friend's example, it makes you want to visit actual places if it's possible.
Monkey Island's another example. How many people do you know want to go to, the places where they say, "Oh, this is where the original Monkey Island was,"
Yes,
and you can
wherever the
see it
fuck
with the
that is,
store. And
Germany. Yes,
yeah, people keep
that
going there. I
town.
want to.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. That place, and it makes me want to. My obsession with graveyards comes
It's like
from
a
like
German
graveyards in
Times
video
Square.
games.
Okay, so
I
sorry.
think so. No, that's okay.
You know what
It's
the weird
graveyards are
building in
there
the
too.
middle? Okay.
Yeah, I do. It's all right. But yeah, my obsession with graveyards, I think, came from games. Any games that have graveyards, I'd always loved reading the gravestone in the game, and of course, that led me to go to want to check out real graveyards in real life. Other people's houses, quest for glory, you break into them. That's fine. I've always loved going into other people's houses and
Yeah.
looking around. I don't break into them. Like,
Well,
obviously, I'm invited in, at least not
sure.
now that I'm an adult and I'm over the age of
Of
18
course.
and I can get criminally charged with this stuff. But the point is,
That is
it
also
gets
what
you.
you say in private. Yes, checks out.
I thought it would. Frog racing championships. How many times have you wanted to take your horny frog and go to a frog jumping championship with him? Right?
Right.
Because of real world locations. Willie Beamish is a real world game.
I
That is
bought and
so
killed a
real
frog
world.
because of that game. True story. I really did. I
Yes.
didn't mean to kill him. It's
Yes.
not like I took him home and
Oh,
ended his
no.
life and got some sort of sexual thrill from it. No. Why would
Mm-mm.
I say that?
And why wouldn't you edit it out? But he didn't. There it is. Carry on.
No, I was okay. 'Cause I was really young. I had a rat tail because of Willie Beamish. So
Mm.
that's probably even a bigger one to mention. I had my entire hairstyle for like 2 years was because of Willie Beamish, like himself. Not, and I requested a trio of frogs, I believe it was, and they were like watery frogs, so not a toad, but an actual frog,
Mhm.
right? Okay, so. And one morning I woke up and they were floating with white fuzz all over them, and that
Mm.
was the end of my frog adventure. So I had to kill the vibe with the story because I'm like, great, now I sound like a frog murderer. I better make it clear I was a child and they just all I did was sleep and they died. Man, I probably fed them. My parents did. It's fine. Like, just get off my back about these frogs.
Oh man, all the emails that are just going to come flying in.
Oh,
You
we
know
have
what
a
you
very
did and how
amphibious
that
following.
happened.
Yeah.
Yes, we really do. Ah,
Okay, so
riveting down our necks like, my God.
so okay, what you just said ties into one of the questions I asked for us and answered myself, which the question is, we're going to do this Jeopardy style, because you said tombstones, how much you love them, and I
Mhm.
do too. So I put them as an example of environmental storytelling, which is like how do
Mm.
game developers use the environment to tell a story or give hints about the game's world. And like, in other words, like how does a background of does it wait? Do we always call them background, or am I calling them backgrounds from making the game? They're always called backgrounds, right?
Yeah, the background, like what, not the foreground. The
Right,
opposite.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right, it's not the foreground. Okay, fantastic. So yeah, it's like how do you get a story from a background, like a mostly static, if not completely static background, and like yeah, tombstones. So like there you
Mhm.
are, just clicking on spots of a photograph essentially, and like you feel like you're there. You feel like you're at. I mean, if it's done right, you in Gabriel Knight 1 it was, and Gold Rush as you mentioned, and so on. So on means I can't think of it anymore, but you can feel like
King's
you're,
Quest 4, because the graveyard
oh
is
my god, yeah.
scary and it's atmospheric. Okay, and the forest with the trees where you have to carry the axe is petrifying. And I know I was a kid, but I still remember
I
those
wasn't.
feelings today. Yeah, well, even then, right?
I was
And the
scared, yeah.
mirror in the house at nighttime when you walk by it. I mean, tell me that house is not eerie, right? Like, it
Yeah.
is such an atmospheric game, and that graveyard is fucking so atmospheric. Ugh.
Yeah, no, that game, the use of day and night is just like I
Mhm.
don't know, sure if it'll ever be done as effectively again, because somebody could pull it off as well as they did, and I would be like, wow, that was just like King's Quest 4. Like the way they pulled off that shift, like I made it. I had done probably 80 podcasts. Um,
Mhm.
that's how deep into classic games and Sierra I was before I had actually played King's Quest 4. But more miraculously is that I made it that long without it being truly spoiled for me. So like when it
Mhm.
first turned to nighttime, like it was one of the coolest moments I've ever had playing a game. Like I was like, I don't
Mhm.
know, I was like probably like 34 or 5 years old. And like I'm just like super creeped out, and everything just like felt like betrayal in a sense. Like this game just turned on me, and like suddenly I couldn't trust anything anywhere, and like every click was bugging me out, and it was just awesome, incredible.
You and the unicorn both felt that way.
Very good, accurate, yeah, dude. So yeah, okay. So what else do we have for environmental storytelling? I'm not gonna just like bail on you. I'm looking through pictures while
That's
I say
okay.
that.
I gave you 4. Monkey Island, Frog Racing Championships, my obsession with graveyards, and other people's houses, which I do not rob and never have and never
Yeah,
will.
no, that's a fact though. All right, well
Mhm.
let's talk about one I don't think I even wrote down, but I wanted to bring up, which is like artistic direction. Like when a game has such a strong styling that it carries over.
Mhm.
So the biggest example I really can think of is Space Quest 5, and since we had just mentioned it, Willy Beamish, where it's
Mhm.
just like, holy cow, were they made by the same person? Um, like I think Scott Murphy had joked. He said that he always called Space Quest 5 like Roger Beamish or something like that, which is just like so spot on, because like whoever made these games has like they really like beige. They are all about
Mhm.
some pinkish beige, man. There's just I hope that resonates with some of our listeners. Like if you think Space Quest 5 and you saw a lot of beige or khaki, same as Willy
Mhm.
Beamish, it's a thing. I don't know what the deal is. It looks fantastic, but it's like once you notice it, you can't unnotice it, and you're like, wow, it's a weird choice. It works and it's amazing, and thank God it is what it is, because there's so many games that don't use a ton of beige that it's actually refreshing. But it's
Mhm.
yeah. So anyway, that's I've said beige way too many times in like a minute and a half. Do you have any examples where it's not the same game series, but the games look identical? The environment
Well,
feels the same, let's say.
I'm just trying to like think about like maybe Police Quest 3 moving into Blue Force mixed
Right.
with like a bit of Blade Runner, because I'm like it's all kind of within that few year time period. Jim Walls is
Even
involved in
Gabriel
all
Knight.
of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Good calls. Police Quest 3 and Gabriel Knight for sure.
Mhm.
What's that? Jane
Yeah.
Jensen involved, so there's that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And then what else could you do? Like the hand painted background. So what? Space Quest 4 and King's Quest 5.
Right. Well played. I thought that I ran us into a dead end with this one, and you made that not true. Thank you so much. It's amazing, because that's yeah the hand painted background kind of phase or era.
Mhm.
Ah, very good.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that was a fun time actually, because I was obsessed with the hand painted. I'd go around telling all my friends who didn't give a shit, and I'm just like, "Oh yeah, yeah, you've got your Nintendo games, but do your games have hand painted backgrounds? And do you even know what rotoscoping is?"
Like, oh, that adventure game girl is so pretentious.
So true. And it's like they come to my house and they're like, fine, we'll play your game. I'm like, da, 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 da. You watch me play the game because you don't understand how to play the game.
Emily, sweetheart, we're not starting on King's Quest 1. Okay, you have to go all the way back. You won't appreciate this.
Yeah, it's just not going to work that way. But yeah, there's a couple that are like that are just, okay, I hate to say it, but Mask of Eternity and Quest for Glory 5. They're right in that same time period,
Right.
and they kind of have some of those same chunky 3D mechanics going on.
And the trailer for Space Quest 7.
Oh man, where is that game?
No,
It's hanging out with Leisure Suit Larry 4.
Yeah, we do need to get Trolls back on. That's another question I got for him.
I want to do a whole Space Quest episodes. Do you hear me? You don't have to listen to the episode, but one of your people shall pass it on to you through the magic land of Discord that we want you back to talk about Space Quest. And I'll find you in my messages forthwith.
Do not be afraid to wear something pretty to the interview.
That's right. Or nothing at all. It's whatever makes you comfortable.
It's funny. That's a joke I just took out of my game. I'm like, does that sound sexist?
What?
I better take it out.
No.
I mean,
did you? Oh, that's funny.
I
That's
did.
hard to
Yeah,
know.
it might go back in because it is a ghost talking to a human, and they're both dudes, so it's probably fine.
Mm-hmm.
I can objectify my own fictional character. I think that's how fiction's made, right? Oh shit. Okay, let's do. We got so many more numbers. We don't have to. We're not going to do them all, which is probably good. But let's do atmosphere. That's a fun one. So what do we? When you just think like lighting and like dramatic lighting and maybe the weather is a character in a sense. You know what I mean? Like a just moodiness. What do you think?
Yeah. Cross country Canada.
Oh my!
I know you've never. It's like it's wet and it's raining and you don't have any gas. Do you pick up the hitchhiker? Have you slept recently? Where are you getting those gosh darn potatoes?
Wow.
It's a super atmosphere. You end up in a crappy little motel, but you don't even have enough money, so you got to like sleep in your truck, and you don't get enough sleep, and you're really feeling the slog. How many more stops to make, and then what happens at the end? You're rewarded by getting another job you have to do all over Canada.
Wow.
More potatoes.
What an advert for a game. You're really feeling the slog. I can't take any more fucking potatoes. And when you're done, you get another shitty job. Like, wow.
It's edutainment,
Long
man.
winters up there, huh? Jeez Louise.
Long enough that we play the game. But no, that's kind of a jokey answer, but it should get you started on one of your real answers.
It did not, because it was too good. Honestly, that was too much fun to zone out and think of my own, selfish thing. You had me with that one. I'm still wondering if there's a beaver in the game at all at any point.
I'll let you know for sure. There's one. Okay, what about a game like Thexter, or like one of those games where you're in the environment and okay. That's right. That's what I'm trying to say. You already kind of asked, and this isn't even answering your question really, but the music, you need the music to make the environment. And I know that's a separate episode, but I was saying the same thing to James earlier. And I said, what would happen to you if I took the music out of Elder Scrolls Arena or out of Panzer General Assault, which is 3D Assault, which is what he's playing now? I said, how much of the environment, the feeling of where you are, would you lose? He said 80 to 90%. So what is the environment without the music with it?
Right. It's funny too because I had music under atmosphere where I was like lighting, weather, and atmosphere, and
all
music,
fits.
and I got rid of music because I'm like, well, yeah, because that's a whole different thing, like you said. But you're absolutely right; it all does fit. And I guess I'll just add to that: the games that don't play music at the right times are the ones that I remember. And just the best example of that I think is Thimbleweed Park for me, where it's just like dripping with moodiness. It completely fits. It's not overbearing. It feels like kind of like a friend. Like it's just like somebody's kind of there for you in the dark sort of feeling where you're not alone. Yeah, you're not alone. And then sometimes it's just not there, and all you hear is cicadas or whatever they're called, crickets. And it's just adds. It doesn't make it scary, but like all of a sudden you feel alone or desolate or
Colonel's Bequest does that really well, actually. The Colonel's Bequest game uses very, very simple sound and not a huge amount of music and a lot of ambiance.
Right. I just cleared my throat so definitively that my son looked at me like, "What? Dude, what are you trying to tell me?"
Am I in trouble, or do you need to let me know there's somebody outside the window? Oh my God.
Like this, I just pressed mute so I could do a good clearing. Working in there. But yeah, Colonel's Bequest does it really good. So yeah, I just wanted to shout out to all the games that leave like that the headspace where you can just like
Mhm.
it's something I want to do for my game because it's like with Thimbleweed Park where it's what am I trying to say? Oh, that it's if it's an investigation, then it calls
Mhm.
for it. Because it's like even if it's a comedy, you're still like investigating. So it's like for it to
Mhm.
suddenly just kind of go quiet, and all of a sudden you notice like the darker themes to the room, and like where the light isn't. It's
Mhm.
cool.
It is. And that's it actually. Okay, back to King's Quest 4 and the Troll Cave is a great example of that.
Right. Yes.
You don't know what isn't, you don't know what is, you barely have shadows. You're going by sound and you're going by what light you have, and it's so scary.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is maybe a stretch because there's like a almost visual joke to it, but the intro to Space Quest 2, like the visual joke just being that you are mopping. Yeah, it's kind
Mhm.
of funny that you're mopping a spaceship, but like you would argue that cuts all tension, but it's like it didn't for me, and it still doesn't for me. Like it just has this complete like space odyssey feeling, that isolation and just like in the infinity of space, and it's like just quiet and dark and still and calm, and you're just out there like quietly slowly cleaning something.
Mhm.
And it's just I don't know, yeah, there's something about it. It feels like isolated in a sense. Right. So King's Quest
Yeah,
4 comes up a lot. That's interesting.
it
For
is.
I
And
kind of
I don't even know if it's nostalgia, man. That's a bloody pretty game. And I keep, my head is filled with that game. And even the simple sounds. I didn't even have a Roland or nothing. I had no sound blaster. I'd like doo-doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo-doo. Like it was simple. And yet the songs stick in my head. The atmosphere of that game sticks in my head. And maybe it's because it's my first game. But then I talk to you and you're like, no, no, it's super relevant. I didn't play it till I was 30 something. So.
yeah. No, it's one of their absolute finest. It's so good. Like it was at well, no, everybody played it before 5 and 6, but again,
Mhm.
because I played them same as I described Space Quest earlier. I played them all like in a row within a month or two, and I was just like I was left wanting with 5 and 6, just because 4 was just such a masterpiece. It was so good, and 6 might be overrated, but we'll get into that
Mhm.
another time. I probably shouldn't just drop that on there and then move on. But
6 is whimsical and it does have a great atmosphere, and certain scenes really stick with people. And I think it's really good at doing that. It uses its own imagination. You don't have to use yours as much. And it's very well done that way.
I think it does what it's trying to do. Yeah, it does everything really well, and I think it's like a personal preference. Like
Hmm.
there's like it's striking a chord that I'm just like it just kind of missed for me. Like because I
Yeah.
think I like 5 a little better in the sense that 5 at least it feels like a grand adventure, like a
Do you
cliche
feel it?
adventure.
Are you hot? Like, okay, compare deserts. Desert in an early Space Quest game or in an early King's Quest game to a desert in King's Quest 5. Like in King's Quest 5, you can kind of really feel
Feel
that
it.
desolation of the desert.
Beautiful. Like
Quest
cross
for
country
Glory
Canada.
2.
Now I get you.
Yes,
Yeah, I get you now.
you
That's
get
what you
it.
meant. Right. Yes.
Yes,
Because you appreciate the grind where it's just like,
yes.
oh, like sledging through, like, yeah, something you wouldn't describe well. Right. Or it'd be like, oh, it's just going through the desert for like 45 minutes. And then, but you look back on it fondly if it was done right. And yeah, it totally was. For both, like,
Yeah.
great call with Space Quest too, because for both of
Mhm.
those. Yeah.
Yeah. And Quest for Glory 2, Trial by Fire, it's essentially set in a desert, and you have to use identification of like maybe there's a rock over here that wasn't on this screen. And you know what it does is it actually flips the screen partway through, right? If you played the game briefly, you might have noticed you need a compass because if you go too far, everything flips. So you're going in the opposite direction, which is really confusing, but really good for a kid when they're trying to learn compass directions. But you're just like, by the time you find the oasis, you're feeling the same way. You're like, like, I need a drink. Where's my water skin? It made me want to have a water skin to put
Right.
water in so I could be like that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it was, beautiful game.
It's funny too because you'll do things like, well, I would say as a kid, but I do now too, where it's like I'll have to pee really bad, and I'll be like, not until I find it.
Mhm.
These little ways of like torturing myself. Where I'm like, just go 2 more screens, and then you can go. And like,
Mhm.
you can make yourself like fall into the scene where it's like you have to pee really bad, but you got to just keep getting through this desert, man. And then you look back with this like weird suspense.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was more pee centric than I meant to make it at the end, but it's fine. I got one I wanted to go over before we run out of time. I wanted to go
Mhm.
over real world environments versus like stylized world environments. Okay,
Yes, good one.
so what's it's I was thinking earlier, I'm like, I was making this, bold proclamation to myself of I like adventure games that take place in the real world the best. And I knew that about myself because I thought about this a lot with doing the Phantom Fellows, where I'm like, I want this. There comes that time where I tempted I like flirted or courted myself, yeah, flirted with the idea of some like grand sci-fi world where like anything you think of you can do. Because it's like once you
Mhm.
decide to do a game in the real world, like you're tied to all of our rules, for better or worse. And there is like this kind of creative temptation to be like, yeah, but what if you weren't? But I chose the real world because I like it the most, like Gold Rush and Gabriel Knight and Police Quest and things like this. So
Mhm.
then I was thinking that almost all adventure games are in the real world, let's say. Like,
Mhm.
and so this is a 2-part question. One, what's up with that? Does it have to do with puzzles? Because that's the first thing that comes to mind. It's like just being able to conceptualize from a development point of view, like what a puzzle would even be. Start taking like real world stuff and figuring that out. So
Mhm.
that's part of the question. But the other part of the question is like, when is it not the real world, but it is to them? So like
Right.
Monkey Island, like that's not our real world. This kind of goes back to earlier when I was stumbling over the whole historical versus real thing. Like what if it's not our history, but it's like a real world? You know what I mean? Does
Mhm.
that make sense at all?
Yeah, I mean, and you can put that in the past or in the history or in the present too. Like, okay, for example, you want to do like the Pandora Directive, the Tex Murphy game. It's set in the future. I think it's in like 2043 or something. And it is the real world. Technically, it's just another version of it. There's Gold Rush, which is set in the real world. There's Donald Duck's Playground, which is set within the aesthetics of a real world with real world concepts. What about Full Throttle? None of that exists, right? But it's real. You're on a road, it's in a real place. You can go to a diner, you're on the motorcycle, you can find the place on a map. Sam and Max. Think about that. Is it in a real world? No, it's entirely fictional, but it's kind of based within the concept of a real world. King's Quest games are in the real world with fairy tale added. So it's like the real world plus lore or something.
Right. No, that's valid too, though. You're right. Because they're almost, yeah, they're almost as limited, more limited to the real world. Those kind of games,
Mhm.
just so
Yeah.
strict with like this is how things are. Like it just so happens there's fairies and shit here, but that doesn't mean that we fuck around with.
Yeah, we can't just up and start flying for no reason, right?
Right.
There's no magic potions in that sim. You can make a spell if you follow a specific subset of ideas, but that's fairy tale land still. It's still in the real world. Like Mananananananananananan doesn't live in like the sky on a cloud castle. Quest for Glory took it more in that direction of a little bit more wild and, animated creatures and, creatures that don't exist in this world and less fairy tale and more mythological legend based in lore or Greek mythology, yada yada yada. So,
Right. Yeah. So I get right. Okay. That's I guess where you would have to draw a line and say,
mhm,
yeah, like it's like everything's gonna be a real world to them. They're the ones in it.
within their world, it's like
But
Avatar.
what
It's
about to
yeah, it's
us?
based in a real world. The Star Trek, right? You're a Klingon or something. It's got a language. It's got an alphabet. We've got lore. We've got history on it. We've got people that can actually speak it, but it's most certainly not a real world.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. It's not ours. So okay.
Mm-mm.
First thing comes to mind is like Space Quest 6. Like those, that's the
Mhm.
tricky territory because that
Yeah.
just seems like a guesstimation of what our world would look like in the future.
Hmm.
It's even
Yeah.
as like gritty in that specific case. Like it's not as glamorized as a lot of tales of the future are.
Or
Um,
Freddie Farkas, like that's not in the real world, but isn't it?
right, and so I guess really the real world thing has to be completely separated from stylization. It has nothing to do with
Hmm.
it. Because Sam & Max
Mhm.
is heavily stylized, right? But it's also in the
Yeah.
real world, as you pointed out. There's really no, it's not, because it is a dog and a rabbit. See, it
Well,
almost snuck
yeah,
past
that is
us.
true. Well, in Space Quest, it's like it's the real world, but what about like, Buddy at his shop or any of the other weird and wacky alien creatures? And I guess you could say it's real world if technically there's aliens and technically we haven't met them yet.
There's so many Yeah, it's almost like you have to discount them, though. I
Mhm.
think you're kind of getting to something there. 'Cause,
Mhm.
yeah, then it leaves way too much open for it's like, but wouldn't that be more in a world where it's already the future, or that they know that there's
Mhm.
aliens, or yeah.
Like Callahan's Cross Time Saloon or something. Like this is not something that's generally happening, but it's at a pub. Well, do pubs exist? Okay, what about Hitchhiker's Guide? Is that real? Well, it's Islington and everybody's on Earth and everything's fine, but then the Earth gets blown up and you're off on a spaceship and having an adventure. At what point is this not based in the real world anymore?
Right, yeah. Dang. Okay, so that actually takes, because once we get rid of all of those, then it's knocked down to very few again. So now we're back down
Mhm.
to like your police quest,
Mhm.
Gabriel Knight,
Gold Rush.
Gold Rush. Thank you, Laura Bow.
Yep. Yep, I'd say Laura Bow, both of them.
I'd say the first. See, it's weird with Leisure Suit Larry. It's like I'm tempted to say like the first three, but not the last three. But I think that's just the stylization
I
difference there.
think, yeah, they're all
They're
kind of
more
based in the
stylized like that.
real slutty world that they're in. Yeah.
Right. It does get more and more extreme too, though. That does help the like at least where the mind frame's coming from.
Yeah, that's true.
Where
And
it's
I mean,
almost more
okay, if you're
plausible
is
at
it
the beginning.
yeah, these girls aren't going to act like that. This guy's not going to act like this. This isn't the real world at all. But we're talking setting, so.
Right. But it is funny how the stylization affects the recollection, right? Or it's like the
Mhm.
more stylized Larry got, the less real it felt to me.
Yeah, yeah, it's actually that's very, very true.
The more
And
cartoony.
you've got me thinking this whole time about the nostalgia factor, and you said, well, maybe it's the nostalgia factor must have worn off by now, and it's really in the environment. It's really something to consider, and I think your King's Quest IV again is the perfect idea of how much the nostalgia factor isn't necessarily in play, although it's there with the graphics. Like you're going to be more nostalgic about that kind of graphic than maybe playing a Gabriel Knight game or something, but I don't know. It's not as strong as I thought it was. I think nostalgia played a bigger part in why I like the pixelated graphics more than it actually does.
Right. It is tough. Okay, because I'm obviously a great like what's making your case, right? Because I was in my mid
Mhm.
30s, and I had never played King's Quest 4 before, and I'd put it immediately in like my top at least 10 favorite games
Mhm.
ever. Like it's that good. But you could argue I have the proclivity to like those style games. I think I
Mhm.
used to bang on this show that SCI Zero specifically was my favorite era because every game was like perfect, except for Iceman, which is so unfair because I haven't played it. Just bandwagoning. It's for the jokes, man. But so like yeah, but it almost feels like like more and more grasping when you're like yeah, but it's because you have a proclivity to like Sierra games that that you liked it. But it's like I don't know, man, like I had no actual childhood connection to that game, and to this day, like the styles of arts that we see in computer games or just video games in general is either 3D or pixel art. Like you can't ignore that like 30% of the market seems to be pixel art, or the popularity of Minecraft to kids who never played like this. Like
Mhm.
Minecraft was already like a parody of pixel art, like in 2001 or so when it came out, or 2004, or whatever.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So it's like people like pixel art regardless of nostalgia. I think is my point, and just
Yep. I
I,
think so.
I think it's fair to say that nostalgia didn't have much to do with me liking King's Quest.
Mhm.
I mean, if anything, like I really didn't like the first three King's Quests at all. I
No,
didn't have
neither
fun
did
at
I.
all.
I didn't understand them. I ended up following a walkthrough because I'm like, I'm not going to deal with this bullshit. And I know people are nostalgic and they got them first and they're supposed to be the best ones. And I liked them. But for me, they were a challenge I had to save up my time for. And I had to wait till I had a game guide that it was one of those, Corish's video game compilations. It was like the third edition. There was no first edition and no second edition. It was just randomly a third edition that happened. It's sitting in front of me now. But yeah, they were scary. They were super scary games. Everything moved so fast, and I couldn't finish them by myself.
Yeah, well, like 1 and 2 just wasn't enjoyable. But I think
No.
I think a lot of that is just it's it was super old, and the Roberta Williams like design was excruciating. Unless it was, again, like, I'm totally in defense of it in its time, like in 1984 when there wasn't like a whole lot to do, and like that was not only the only graphic adventure game, but it was also the only graphic adventure game. It's not like you could take a break from King's Quest 1 when it came out and play something else. I mean, it was
No.
the first one of its kind. So
Here
my
it is.
point is, like, the first two should be respected historically, and
Yes.
they obviously, you can't play King. Oh, did
Oh,
I? Sorry, my cat
yeah,
just.
you just
Yeah, sorry, Hunchbacks. Not naming names, but anyway, and then the third one had potential. Like, I think it was done by the McNeil brothers on the art division, or one of the two of them is an artist, and I think he did the art for the early King's Quest.
That
But
makes sense.
King's Quest 3 looks remarkably similar to Gold Rush, which we both
It
obviously
does.
love. And so I love the idea of King's Quest 3. Like the way you peer into each room, and I even like the timing aspect of it. Like where you have a set amount of time to go out and do the things you need to do, or run up in Menenen's room while you have the chance, and yeah, there's some great ideas and stuff behind it, but it's just mercilessly difficult. Like,
That's why
it's
the
as hard as
remake's
the
almost
walkthrough.
better. I like the pixels, but I like the fan remake that Infamous Quest did, I think, on King's Quest 3. It's very well done. It's very much less stressful. The clock timer's right on the screen when stuff has to happen. And it's a really nice, really authentic remake.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, I'm sorry. That was the wrong tone of my yeah. That was I've played it. Yeah. I meant to be like, wait. Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice. Anyways, I wouldn't say not to check it out. And if you're scared of the third one, try the remake instead. It is a
I
little
really
bit more
might
relaxed.
eventually someday. Yeah. We both know I have like a homework list of games to play right now, but one day I like the idea of doing that, because I really liked the Space Quest remakes that they did that I checked out from them and AGI. I played both of them. But it's not AGI, AGD. Yeah, I think it's AGD.
AGD Interactive. I've been ever since. I don't know if you've ever played Al Ammo in the Lost Dutchman's Mine.
No, I do own it. I see it in my library on like Fireflower, somewhere random. But yeah, I know I've never played it.
Yeah, the aspect ratio's messed up. They were never able quite figure it out. But if you
Right.
don't mind doing a little bit of tinkering on your own, you can kind of magnify and make it work. But it is truly a labor of love. It is a true love letter to Sierra and to the Leisure Suit Larry games. They had the whole philosophy of everything that you click on needs to say something or do something. You don't need a hotspot, because everything is a hotspot. It's funny, it's whimsical, it's interactive. If you can see it, you can click it. It's a flippin' good game, dude. And it has a lot of the philosophies I've heard you bring.
All right, let's end on a fun one. Let's just do. I got one down here. It says pick your favorite.
Okay.
We got to do one nature, one fictional, and one real world based environment game.
Okay. Let's do one fictional one first on
Okay.
each of us.
Okay. Dang. He lets out an audible dang. There's so many.
Yeah, that's what I had trouble with on this one
Good
too, to just pick one.
God. I guess I have to go. Well, when I thought about it earlier, I thought Space Quest, because I'm like, I told myself, don't forget, Paul, fictional is also sci-fi. So if it helps you, you could think sci-fi, but right, because like a fictional world, like not at all based in our world, right? So even like this wouldn't be King's Quest or Quest for Gold, like because that's like a nature world. It's kind of, that's a poor explanation, but that's how I meant it. In other words, where it's like, a nature-based game, or just a like completely fictional-based game where like the world is nonsense, like Day of the Tentacle, I guess you could say, or even Sam and Max. So, all right, I'm gonna go with Space Quest. I'm gonna go Space Quest 3.
Okay. I'm not surprised. My answer is a Space Quest game too. It's just not that one.
Which one is it?
4. For very specific feel reasons.
It is your hand-painted era too. All right,
It is the hand-painted era. It is the I like the whole beginning of the game and the tone that it sets and how it makes me feel and how freaking scary it is. Even for my kids, they come up when I'm playing it and they walk behind me and the guy comes up pointing his finger at you in the beginning, or
Right.
just understanding what to do with the unstable ordnance, like everything about that game, the Galaxy Galleria when you're being chased by the time cops and, oh my God, being at the mall itself was the fucking coolest thing for me.
It
That made me
was.
love the game so much. That has to be my answer. Tell me why 3 is your answer.
It's such a good. The mall. Just say real quick. We always mention like kind of mess with the idea of like, oh, what about Sierra felt open world to us? And I think the mall is part of that, because as like a
Yeah.
kid, it felt like I was actually going to a mall in a sense. Like it just had
So
this
much.
freedom and
The arcade, the different
freedom
clothing
of
stores.
choice. Exactly, you could
Oh,
choose where you went,
totally.
and stores closed, and and then okay, so 3, it's like I think it's probably the most beautiful. God, Colonel's Bequest is so masterful though. It's
I
just
know.
it's an incredibly beautiful EGA palette. The artwork in that game from Mark Crow is just insane. It's so good. And then the other like the left right KO here is the music, is the moodiness of the atmosphere, because like speaking of like using silence correctly, and then just the occasional kind of haunting whistle of even the theme, like would just play every now and then with like a dun, 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 just these like little drum beats, and then it would echo out. Sorry, it's totally audibly rubbing my eye there. If it got it, I wonder if it made any gross wet sounds, like a
sound effects. That's what we're here for. The people are here for this. The few that have stayed this long.
I know, yeah, that's for you, man. This eye rubs for you. Okay, but no, it's Space Quest 3. Yeah, okay. We got that. Okay,
Yes, okay. Nature based, right?
Yeah, so like for this, I'm just thinking, where it takes place outside, kind of plain and simply. Yeah.
Because my answer to that is like literally Quest for Glory 1. It all takes place outside, and Arena's Peace is a beautiful garden that I could spend all day in.
This one's really hard because there's so many outside games. Like King's Quest V is quite something to look at, and is I would say pretty much with an asterisk mark. Don't be a dick about it, but it's all outside. Okay, like he goes in a few shops, but he's mostly outside. Like, so we just set ground rules. Look, they're allowed to go inside for breaks. It's still an outside game.
It's like Larry's not an outside game. You have to catch cabs around. You have to be on a cruise ship. It's not really maybe Larry 3 has in some
right, but even
stuff,
that's exactly.
Yeah.
Larry 3 is a good example of taking advantage of our rules, where it's like, okay, look, the path is outside. That's just like how you travel.
Exactly.
Longbow is amazing. Gold Rush. I'm gonna go
Conquest,
with. I'm gonna go with Echo Quest, both of them, because I love those. So I know I did right. I'm gonna go with the Sierra title.
Shocker. Never guess what Paul chooses during his selections on this week's podcast episode. Hint: it might start with an S.
Dude, because I played Echo Quest more than I talk about, because I always go into Space Quest like I just subconsciously tried to do a second ago. I'm sure that was audible. It was like Echo Quest, but like the first one, I don't know. The first one captured the same vibes for me as Willie Beamish did. Where like I felt like, and I was Willie's age-ish. I was Adam's age-ish, and and my dad scuba dived, so there was kind of that on my advantage side. But then the freedom of the oceans, and then again with the secrets of the rainforest, just being in the rainforest. So those are my outsides. And you pick Quest for Glory 1. EGA?
What was it? The one, the SDI?
I know.
Is that what I'm supposed to say? I'm not good with those names. The early graphics, pretty.
Right. That's exactly it. Well done. I couldn't dare correct that. It's adorable.
That's it. Just streams running and all that outdoor stuff, and okay. And then the other one was real world based.
Wouldn't it be funny if our code name was like, if one of us had to pee, we said streams running.
Streams running.
And then it's outside and streams running. We have a streams running. Okay, all right, sorry. So, what's our third one?
Telling everyone our secrets. Jesus. Man. Now we're going to have to come up with a new code word. Okay, we're going to call it might and magic.
Wow, I got a might and magic. That sounds like more. Yeah, it sounds like a urination will be disappointing.
Well, I'll try it first thing in the morning instead. You might be pleasantly surprised.
Oh God! All right, we got last one. We got one last one, which is
Real world.
real world.
Not like the show.
Wow. No. Thank God.
So are we both just going to say Gold Rush and then the episode's over, or what?
That would be. I know. I'm looking at like the 3 boxes I can barely see right now. Like, which one of you guys? Did I have one? I thought I'm gonna go with Larabo. Vaguely. Yeah. In general. I don't want to have to pick between the two. Because, man,
No,
I
she wouldn't.
really like Dagger of Amon-Ra. Like, I might like it more. I don't think I want to be honest with myself about that. Because I think I'm cooler if I like Colonel's Bequest more. It feels more authentic. It's the parser. It's full murder mystery. It's like the greatest art ever. But, man, I really love Dagger of Amon-Ra for some reason. Love that game. So,
It's a beautiful game.
That's my choice. What about you?
Gold Rush.
Oh, you are doing that. Okay.
No, I'm just Conquest of Camelot, I could say, but it's technically not set in real time because it's fictional historical, right?
Is it? Is it?
Well, it's, have you ever
Probably.
played it yet, right? It's like the Grail and, Lancelot and Camelot and all those Guinevere and, that, all those things.
Sorry, I had to like orient
Mystical
myself.
rocks.
Where are we? Christy Marx, Longbow, because I got mixed up with Jen. So, because Longbow's, true to the myth anyway, if that's not an oxymoron, right?
And Camelot is also true to the myth. Yes. Yeah. Indeed, 100% well-researched, true to the myth. Just like Jem was true to her myth. But yeah, I just don't know if you can call it real world again because it's real world fictional.
We can. We just need a better name for it because it's that would piss people off, like pedantically nerdy speaking, and not actual anger piss off. But like,
how about historically accurate and not like? Because was any of that real? Like, and it depends on who you ask.
Right? Yeah, we can't use historical either because that's it's got to be like a way to say that it's like, dang it. But you're right about historical though, because it has to line up from the years, right? You can't just be like how the world is to us. Like, well, what do you mean? Well, like if we meant in the 13th century, because it's like, dang, this is really hard to work out verbally. I don't know how to word that.
Oh, what about Blade Runner? It's in the real world technically then, I guess. Except it's not, but it's in the future. Or again, back to the Pandora Directive. It's in the real world. It's just in the future 40 years.
Right. Where it's like you need a willing dance partner to explain this because it's like, granted, like you have to imagine certain things and you have to make predictions to write the future. But it's like you have to assume too that we're playing fairly with one another, and we're only trying to invent things for this world, say Blade Runner, that could happen in a fictional sense.
I'm going to stand with Gold Rush. Final answer. Solid.
Beautiful.
So I was kind of wondering what's up in the dev corner of your world, Paul.
Dude.
So I bet you there's some epic stuff happening right now.
Yeah, it is. It's so hard. It's a lot of real difficult stuff, man. It's like I had to sit down. Like I woke up the other day. I'm like, okay, today we're doing the GUI for the last puzzle. So GUI, it's like graphic that pops up on the screen. It's like different from might be like where you work the radio or something, right? Just vague example, not related literally. And it's like, so you gotta like program the GUI, and I'm like, or better yet, here's a more simple one I also had to do was a keypad, and I'm like, well. On one hand, it feels like a basic programmer thing, like, oh, you've never decoded a key thing before, like, that's something you'll do in the adventure game business. Then you're gonna code a lot of keyboards. You're gonna first one, huh? But no, it's on the other hand though, like I think outside of like, this stuff being normal, even just learning and work, even like to a listener right now, they can easily work DOSBox. Like
Mhm.
you're a magician to the common folk. Like the average person does not know what to do with computers. Like
Mm-mm.
the 80%, I would say. And so it's
Mhm.
just like, they would look at DOS like that's straight up lines of code that you're running. And you're
Mhm.
just like, it's just C colon, and then my full CD is, but anyway. So on the other hand, I was trying to give myself credit. I'm like, well, I mean, you're kind of coding an actual keypad. It's like there's no physical buttons, but I mean, you are having to just wake up this morning and figure out how to do that. Like, how am I gonna, design and make a keypad work? Like, what is that math? Is that what do we use to get there? And just anyway, so I'd made the keypad. I did it with using an array, which is the first time I used an array in a game. Anybody who codes will be like, what a bloody amateur. Have you been using AGS for 3 years? And this is the first time I've been using AGS for 3 years, almost every day for 3 years. And I
Mhm.
just now had made an array because I've been avoiding them because I was scared of them. And it's pretty simple. I mean, at least by analogy, I'm just like, okay, these are the numbers you can allow. And it's a lot better than my previous attempts at like a safe code earlier in the game. It's just like 500 lines of code and does far less. Anyway, it's super nerdy. Sorry, I'll take it down a nerdy route. The point is that I don't feel like a programmer. That's not my strongest suit at all. Like I'm definitely much better, I think, at writing and art, um, and music and that whole side of it. The program side, like I'm not doing it because I have to do it, because I do like it, but I'm
Mhm.
definitely the worst at it, is what I'm trying to say, and that I don't feel among my people when I'm around good programmers
Mhm.
at all. Like imposter syndrome, not even syndrome, just kicks in. They were just like, oh, like I'm embarrassed to tell you like how I do shit straight up. So I guess I'm saying that to say is I feel like most of the audience listening can relate more to that than to being a programmer. So that being said, it's like, well, how do you do a keypad when your brain doesn't work like that? You just wake up and
Mhm.
just code a keypad, and it's just like, it's not so bad. Is the point? You get pointed in a direction on the forum or somewhere online, and you go in there and you have a few stabs and nothing works and nothing works and nothing works. But after like 3 hours, it works. And in that vagueness, magic happens.
And that concludes today's episode of the Classic Gamers Guild podcast. I want to first off thank you for joining us. I want to shout out a couple of our friends first before I give you all of our deals. Imagine doodaloo, the little ding, that's the thing, the adventure game hotspot network. And we have one short eye hanging out in there. He's got an interview with Ron Gilbert coming up that everybody is going to absolutely love. And we've got Adventure Game Geek, who's been busy on location, doing different scenes and filming stuff and showing us a lot of the places that he loves from games that he's played. Space Quest historian who just released a Police Quest retrospective, which is pretty awesome. It's like one of those fair and boundless reviews. I've watched it on the release party. I watched it again today. If you haven't seen it, pop onto YouTube and watch it. It's hilarious, and it makes my kid laugh because he likes that. He likes hearing these points of views on my games that I'm always oohing and awing about. So that's funny. And then, of course, we've got conversations with Curtis, and they've got some amazing interviews as always coming through.
Yeah, that's right. The Dave Grossman one was really
Yep.
good. Ron Gilbert one coming out. And we're going to be linking all of their latest, everyone that we just mentioned in the network, including Hotspot themselves. We're going to be linking their latest works in our show description starting last week or last episode, right? So anybody listening, if you guys just want to like quickly hop over to that now that the show's done, just look at our description and you'll see links to all of their latest projects, and that's how it will remain. It's just whatever their latest thing is, you can always just click on. So when we say goodbye, they bloody say hello.
Hello. That's right. And if you want to say hello to us, you can follow us on Twitter. We're at CGG Podcast. We're at Phantom Fellows. Say a hello. You even get a response, maybe some comments. Who knows? We're on a BBS now. I got to throw that out there. Classic Gamers Guild. So if you're out there in BBS land, you're going to find us. There's like a cool DOS logo and everything. Where and when it gets tattooed, we don't know, but we'll find out. We're also on the Facebook land still, Classic Gamers Guild. So join us there at the Classic Gamers Guild Facebook, at the Classic Gamers Guild podcast. You're going to send us an email. Of course you are. mail@classicgamersguild.com. That's going to happen. You're going to find Paul at www.phantomfellows.com. You're going to find it on Steam, that game. You're going to maybe download the demo. Maybe you're going to appreciate that it's going to be better, but you're certainly going to wish list it. You're also going to go to that wish list on GOG. You're going to look up the Phantom Fellows. You're going to look up the game. You're going to pop it on. There's like almost 50 people already out there that are saying, yeah, we want to see Phantom Fellows on GOG. So get out there and agree. And on top of that, maybe you're going to want to find us on our Patreon, because right now on our Patreon, there's like 30 minutes from the Error 47 episode that like was not released because it was way too hot to put out here. So if you want to hear what it sounds like, it doesn't take a lot. There's some terrible accents. It's worth it. Or you can be like Michael Council and Brian Manown, who are both in our extra special thanks tier on Patreon. They're paying a little bit more, but you know what? I just said their name on the episode. So kind of worth it, I have to say. Maybe we'll even think of more things we can get from you lovely people. So
and buy Brian's music just to find. So good.
Do it. It is fantastic. You're going to put it on your playlist and it's going to stay there forever and ever and ever. So do all of those things. Do the Patreon thing. Wish list of things. I'm glad you listened. Thanks for staying that long. Paul, please stop this.
Be safe out there and don't do a murder.
Like Jagged Little Pill is about Dave Coulier. I can't believe it. It's the greatest
That's
gift.
Hot.
Yeah.
It made the song good again. Now when I sing it, I'm going to just smile knowingly and be okay with the world. And, you know,